It's a privilege. It's great that you guys are here. So really nice to also tell you my story. As you can hear, I'm nervous. I'm a very shy person when it comes to public speaking. But I also promise God that if He ever puts me in front of an audience or so, that I'll be willing to do that and then just tell the story, and He'll take care of the rest. So I don't know if you guys know, but our shareholding, there's three main shareholders. The biggest one being Murtec, is François van Niekerk, and then Stefan from Nikon, and then my own company, Mystici. So in the shareholding, more than 50% of the profits goes exclusively to the expansion of the kingdom of God through the shareholding. So. And so a little bit what I want to tell you before we get to King Price is Marnu will tell you about the culture and everything. And this is not my story because we're only a third of the way there. But it's the last 15 years, what happened in my life, how God gave me my purpose, and what got us to the point where we are now. Okay, so let me start off. I was 23, and we waited, and me and my friend Petri actually got me the job at Bugatti's, which I got fired for after a week. And I joined Spur then. And the university said I can't study any further. My dad didn't want to pay any further, and he's definitely not going to let me into the house again because I was probably the naughtiest student on earth. And life didn't look too gloomy for me, and my girlfriend left me. So it was really down in the dumps. Then the cherry on the top was our hostel awards. Me and Petri won the least likely to succeed in life award. And it was a little sock with a little text on it, and it was quite funny. But we, at that point in time, we booked ourselves into the 224, yeah, Hotel 224. And we sat down and we prayed, and we gave our hearts to Lord Jesus Christ. To friends, his mom always prayed for us every night that we went out and all of that. And my life changed there, his as well. Shortly after that, Marnu invited me to a church camp where that evening my life really changed around. That was probably the biggest moment in my life. So he had a nice sermon. We were 200 people, maybe an audience like this in a room, and he said, you guys can change the world. And I really, really, really believed it. I don't know why, but I did. God spoke to me there. That next day, he baptized me in the swimming pool. Later in life, he married me. Me and Marnu comes a long way as well with that. But that morning, while driving back, I had this passion in my heart to be a businessman for God. And I remember that clearly. I just wanted to give to God. Now, my salary was, what does a waiter earn? And I got a job as an IT guy at Integritas. I think it was 1,700 Rand. And I specifically remember it because my mom was in trouble, and I'm going to give now. So I'm going to do my best. And why I mention that is because you must see the progression now in 5 years what happened. So I started listening to CDs, church CDs, motivation CDs, everywhere where I could find possibly. I drove to Joburg, then I would open the office, first in the office, sat behind every sales guy's chair, prayed for them, and then the day would start and do the same while driving back. I didn't sleep. You can ask my wife. I worked really, really, and I still struggle to sleep, but it gets better. And to a point where I did job interviews, and I got a job at Auto and General Insurance. I put up their first website there, and things were starting to look more prosperous. So, and that was my mission, is to be a businessman for God. And so that's the first chapter. Then I did that for 2 years and passionately continued doing that. I met a good friend of mine. He's 20 years older than me. We were business partners now for 10 years, Marius Venter. So I approached him and said, let's start a search engine. And he said, okay, that sounds cool. So, I mean, he was in a hosting game. He knows what search engines are. He's got servers, and I'll bring the advertising, and let's do that. So we bought technology out of Latvia, and it's similar to Google in those years. So we programmed it and swiped credit cards, all of the lot. And I said to him, well, while we do this, let's start another company called SA Best. And that's the directory service side, and we start selling that your business would rank on that. And since we own the search engine, we can let the businesses rank high on SA Best. And it made sense, and we did that. So a year into the business of Funnel, we sold it to Anansi, so that liked the technology. Before Google listed and all of those years. And it felt nice. We sold it for 2 million rand, and it was the first real money that we made. Now after all the expenses, all of that, we only got about 10,000 rand back or anything, but it just felt good not to make a loss. What we didn't know is we learned all the tricks in the trade to rank sites high on search engines. And so my old employers, Auto in General, approached me, and I went back into the insurance game there as marketing director, while he then continued with SA Best. Now, SA Best, literally from 4,000 rand a month, in a space of 3 years, invoiced 8 million rand a month. To give you an idea, that's how high we got big companies up on top of the search engines through Google, because we knew all the rules and all of that. And we had the biggest account in the country for Google. We sat in their offices. We know what's the next tricks coming and all of that. So picture this, you now 28, you're on a board, and I mean, after our expenses of that 8 million, there's probably, let's say, 3 million left, and me and Marius would invoice it out. Then I would give half to charity, and the other 750,000. I mean, what does a 27-year-old guy do with an extra 750,000 rand? I mean, that's, I can tell you can waste a lot. But most of it went into new businesses, which I'll get to now. But life was good. I mean, I was on a board of Talisure at 28, and I started Hippo. Everything went well. SAS were flying, and it wasn't enough. It just felt we have to continue. And I remember driving on holiday with my wife. There's 2 Samuel 23. Verse 20 or something like that. It is exactly that. And David talks about these heroes, and he talks about Benaiah. And it's an audio book, and it talks about in a pit with a lion on a snowy day. And it talks about lion chasers. Says, I mean, what normal person would, if a lion approaches them, I mean, he would run away normally. But he took up his club, he followed the lion, jumped into a pit on a snowy day, and killed it there. And later, you also hear in David's pieces that he was David's bodyguard. And I mean, David also killed the lion, so it's actually connected. I mean, if you tell him, I killed the lion, then obviously you got the job. But that just that hit me, that passionately hit me, because I mean, I was really in a comfort zone, and life really couldn't get better, apart from time at home, family life, and those kind of things. And that just motivated me to start the next thing, and that's King Price. So that's where we get to now. Now I resigned, as Marnie referred to, and Amanda and Big Shock said, there I'm going now. And I said to the guys, now I'll get you back. And well, a lot of all my staff are back. Most of them took salary cuts when they joined. Each of them have their own story. And there's so many miracles and stories that happened in King Price. I mean, Marnie and I also spoke that we must even get a company book going, or just those little testimonies. But basically and I remember now I don't have a job, and I come home and I tell it to my wife, and she supported me, but I'm crying with my father-in-law, and he says, why are you jobless, and what are you going to do now? And I said, I'm going to start an insurance company. And he says, so how much does an insurance company cost to start? And I said, well, it's 700 million to 1 billion rand. That's what they normally go for. And it looked at shock to me and said, no, I think you had too many beers. I had too many beers probably as well. then, and that's basically what I got from most of the people is that this is impossible, this can't be done. Um, and I mean, and that's what I want to challenge you. I mean, I was a waiter at 23, and now you think about these crazy things. So I thought it would take probably 9 months, get an investor, and then woo-wah, there we go, and life is good. And that turned out to be 4 years of pitching. I pitched 43 times, and a pitch is, it's like, I mean, you have to set up the meeting. It's a day to go there. So either fly to Mauritius or UK or locally. You have to sign due diligences afterwards if they're interested. So got a nose a lot of time. And I think here around the 27th or 29th time, I said, stuff this, not the chance. I'm going to now fund this myself. So I bought trucks and I just went into the transport business. I then did so well that I took over a couple of trucks, started the logistics business. I started my second ad agency. We went to Australia to start an ad agency in Australia. I started a salvage yard, the payroll company. There's a couple of others. So just to fund now this big dream of King Price that's coming. But all I was doing was just wasting a lot of money. So at one point, I remember I wanted to get a baseball bat and go and hit the guy from the mine that owed me money, because it's tapping empty all my other businesses. I mean, if cash flow stops, then is the end. I mean, I can't pay salaries then. And I, fortunately not to today, had to ever not pay a person a salary. I took it from credit cards, take it out of bonds and all of that. But when I couldn't get hold of the guy, but the next morning he was arrested by the Hawks. So he took other guys for far more than me. The salvage guy stole everything. The ad agency guy was also fraudulent. I learned definitely to choose your partners more carefully. And at that stage, King Price started, then I had programmers. It's literally out of a garage in Benoni. They started programming it. We got the brand ready, all of that. So while you're pitching, you're still building the business. Everything went into that. I mean, we didn't even buy a house or anything. I think the biggest surprise to my wife was the one day when I said, I bought kingprice.com for 400,000 rand. And she really didn't get it, I think, obviously not knowing the value then or the dream. And it got to, as I mentioned, pitch 43. Then I met Goucher, he's from Mertec Group. They approached me for advertising via SA Best. And gladly did that. And I saw, and throughout this process, there's one day I remember where I went to the Silver Lakes Golf Club and I sat there and I said, God, do you really want me to do this? Because, I mean, this is now pitch 41. I'm tired. Money is gone. I look like an idiot. And I was really down. And I don't normally ask God for advice because I always bump my head. And I do feel his voice always. I always know what's right and not. And I always felt I had to do that. But I was now seriously asking, should I do this? And in my quiet time booklet, I went back to 2004, I think, there. I somewhere in the past asked God, please give me an insurance company. Long ago, so I paged through it. And when I left that day there, I know for a fact, 100%, the Holy Spirit said to me, you must start an insurance company. And it's about 2 pitches later when I met then Goucher. And when I found them and I read, yes, this Mertec Group is great. This Kingdom Partners and all of that, that's exactly what we wanted. And so I met Goucher and I actually printed checks, dividends, when I pitched the first time to them. So, and it's funny how things turn out. Their gap, he told me obviously later, the gaps of the print in dividends in the 10 years to come fills exactly their gap, which they don't have to give to Mergon. But that's how confident I was that these guys are my partners now. And so he said, no. And first of all, they don't have 100 million, and we talked about that. Then the due diligence process, it took a year, to give you an idea. And they pray about everything. And I said, that's cool, come on, pray. Let's go. They eventually booked a weekend away. Frans het ook al getuig oor en goed, where they went and they prayed. But I remember telling Gushay, why do you pray at the end? Pray before you start the due diligence, then you can save all this money. And then, because I know what God told me, and we serve the same God. And then basically that's how it happened, and the rest is history. We started, we launched, we had probably no chance given by our competitors. I remember a week before we launched, the one head at a big competitor of ours said he had a moral obligation to tell Murtec to pull out of this because they're going to waste a lot of money. So we did it. We're here today. We broke a lot of all the sales record possibly. And as I mentioned, just person by person, I mean, we're just a building here. It's about the persons and people here. And all of that, and that's what makes it great. I mean, every little story, the one maybe that comes to mind, Eugene there at the back. I mean, he's a veteran. He started with Doustein Auto in general. I was too scared to phone him when I started it because I just thought he's too close to Doustein. And the day I met him, he was sitting there under the tree and everything, and I told him about it, and he's not interested at all. And eventually dragged him along to come and look here. And he just made it clear to me, he said, if it's for money, I'm not coming. If it's to change the world, if it's a kingdom business, all of that, he's there. And so proud to have him as part of our team. And there's stories like that for and each and every person. And the more I work at King Prize, the more I realize this is the platform. Our plans going forward is global. So we're just getting started. The nice victory for us was the biggest reinsurer globally, Munich Re. Now their turnover is about 900 billion, to give you an idea, annually. They're buying a small shareholding in our business. They valued it as at 1.4 billion rand, which is nice to do in 3 years. And I'm not mentioning the money to say anything apart from, remember the guy that was 23 years old and had big dreams, that God, if you have a purpose, and he backs you in that. And I mean, me and Wynand also joke a lot that this becomes our church and it's our platform, and that's gladly why we host it. Marne will now present, and you can come forward so long. And the one thing I said to my co-shareholders was, work must be fun. If I ever do corporate again, I want to enjoy it. So every day I drive to work, they must be fun. Cool, so that's me. Cheers, enjoy. Bye.